Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EPAN to the UKV pod. I'm your host, Josh Carpenter, joined by my co-host, Drew Pitzer. Today, we're excited to welcome in a special guest, head coach, University of Rio Grande, Ryan Arrowood. Coach, I appreciate you joining us today, man. How is everything?
Oh, it's going good. I'm getting older, man. I can feel it. Like I'm the guy with still the old headphone.
Hey,
It's
I still
great to
go
be.
wired
It's
too.
great. It's great to be with these young guys here and talk.
Yes, sir. Coach, how old are you now?
I'm 42.
42?
I'm
He's still a
42.
spring chicken.
You would think that, but it hit me so much. I have a team in my locker room where no one was born when 9/11 happened. And I was a freshman in college when it happened. Like that
Yeah.
was like an aha moment for me this year.
Yeah.
Like no one in my locker room was born when 9/11 happened. And I was a freshman at the school I'm coaching at. So like that just kind of puts a
That
little
is kind of crazy.
yeah. So I'm getting up there a little bit.
For sure. Yeah. I wanted to start with this, coach, just before we go. I wanted to start by saying, like, I remember learning about who you were in high school. And I always thought then, like, I thought we were getting a shift of like a new generation of younger coaches at the time. And I always respected you as a coach and thought, like, man, this is one of the best coaches in the state at the time. And I knew like you would be a head coach. So I'm not surprised to like see your success. And I just wanted to pay those respects to you before this because I've always respected the way you handle everything.
Man, I appreciate it. Man, I'm so blessed. I had just an amazing high school coach. And, there's something we can all kind of relate to, man. I grew up in an area where, there's just not a lot of success breeding success. So you got to be a bit of a trailblazer and an outsider if you're going to make it out because there's just a lot of people that tell you why you can't be successful. And I wouldn't have been if I just wasn't blessed with so many great opportunities and great people. And then guys just opened so many doors for me that I didn't even know is what I needed open. So I'm very, very fortunate. And any coach that makes it in this business where recruiting is important understands you better have gotten lucky and gotten some dudes
Yeah.
because that's you can't create this amazing thing without players. So I've just been really, really blessed with some amazing players.
When did it click to you that you wanted to get into coaching, and how did you get the first opportunity? How did that come about?
Man, like it's weird. Like I tell this and like people think it's funny, but like I was a weird kid, right? I was dressing up as I'm being dead serious, 2 straight Halloweens when I was in elementary school. One year I went as Don Nealon. I had
The
like
goat.
the West Virginia like
goat.
pullover, the hat. My dad had these big headphones he listened to. I had it like as the headset. So one year I dressed up as Don Nealon. No one knew who I was. The next year I put on a fake mustache and suspenders. I was Phil Jackson.
Yeah,
But like I mean,
that's
I
great.
loved like I didn't play video games. I played sport video games, right? And um, I I I was always like the coaching mindset, but I realized probably my junior, senior year in high school, I was like, I need to do something that I know I can coach. Like I knew I wanted to coach, and I was better football player than I was basketball player, just as far as God given ability. But I knew I wanted to coach basketball. So a big reason why I wanted to play college basketball was because I knew I wanted to coach
Yeah,
basketball, and I thought, well, I need to. If I can play college basketball, that's going to allow me some knowledge. So I think I always knew. Like I coached a buddy league team with my dad when I was in ninth grade, and I went to the person who had it, and I said, "Hey, can I have my own team next year? I don't want to coach
yeah,
with my dad anymore. I want to be a head coach."
yeah, yeah.
So I think I always knew. I kind of had that mindset as a player um, of just seeing the game, and you can kind of feel the energy from everybody, and not really worried about how I looked, but more of how the team played. And I was extremely competitive. So I guess I always knew. But my senior year in college, it flipped. Like that's when I was like, my mind really changed
Hmm.
into like I was taking notes on everything. I was obsessed with that John Beeline team at WVU with Pittsnoggle and those boys.
That's my dog right there, Kevin Pitstog.
But no, like Mike Gansey, Pittsnoggle, JD Collins, Air Bear, like that team, Darius Nichols. But like I was a young guy and I was like, they're playing different, da 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 da. And so like I was obsessed with it. you also parlay that into the Phoenix Suns are kind of running the NBA, and Mike D'Antoni, West Virginia boy, right? So, we wear that
Mhm.
chip on our shoulder from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to I'm gonna revolutionize. I'm gonna mesh those two and da 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 da. And I could take all day about how I coach and why I coach now. But when I say I got obsessed with those guys, I got obsessed. And then it's just then anybody that's coached, once your brain flips to a coaching brain, it's never the same. You look at nothing the same. I can't wait to go to church today because I think my pastor's probably going to hit me with something that I know I can use with our team. Like
For sure.
it's never off.
Yeah.
Young age, I knew, but then like my senior year in college is when I want my life to be coaching.
Drew, I'm gonna pass it to you. What's one of the traits that you always say that I have when I ask you for like advice on certain things? You say, "Man, you're obsessed," or "You hyperfixate." I'm like,
He
exactly.
hyperfixates, and that's so. But I think that's a common trait that's amongst people that are dedicated to basketball or dedicated to sports nonetheless, is they hyperfixate and they have, I say this in the most polite way, we have some psychopathic traits to us
No doubt.
because yeah, because I mean, you can ask Josh, I was nuts in college. I would live in the gym. I'd go to the gym, I'd go out with my friends and I'd go, to the calf. I never slept really. I still to this day, I have 3 casts. I'm a barber. I'm always working. I have a wife and a daughter. So like our time is always stretched thin. So when you're somebody who's been around the game, especially as a coach, you have to prioritize your time. And Josh is really good at that. We've all, had to work on that. But yeah, I've always said Josh hyperfixates on a lot of things. I could tell that you, Coach Arrow, would definitely do that as well.
Like again, that's just where I say, like, man, I'm so blessed because like my wife, her dad was a high school girls coach, and she got it. Like she understands. So man, I'm so blessed. Like my wife gets it, and my family. I don't think they love it all the time, but
Hmm.
they get but they get it. And coaching sometimes is difficult because I'm a sacrificial coach, right? I think the greatest lesson I can teach our players is life is better when you sacrifice for others versus seeking out what you can gain. If we can learn that through a team sport, then we got a chance to be successful. But it's like if you're a head coach and you're obsessed, well, you're going to have a lot of people in your life that are willing to sacrifice because you're going to hyperfixate on this thing, and you're going to be obsessed with that. Meaning, if we come off a loss, guess what? Thanksgiving's a great day. I'm going to be miserable, and
Yeah,
I'm going to be miserable,
miserable.
and it's people think there's an off time. Well, no, as soon as the season's over, you're not competing to win games, you're competing to win recruits. And then it's nonstop. So you got to have a lot of people in your life that can support your obsession, or else it's going to be a lonely existence.
For sure.
For sure.
So, Coach, my question for you though is, when you got into basketball, obviously your background, you're a football player by nature, but basketball player at heart, and that was kind of how I was too. I mean, I played football for 10 years. I could have played football at a college level, maybe possibly at a high level of Division II, but I decided, hey, basketball has always been my pride and my joy. It's something that I always focalize on, and I put so much time into it. What made you choose between basketball and football? What was like the final deciding factor outside of knowing, hey, one day I want to coach? Because during the time we're all just players, I'm sure that had to be a difficult decision for you.
Well, I mean, growing up where I grew up, I went to Hannon High School, and not a lot of people know where that is. And it's, between Point Pleasant and Huntington back in the woods, right? And very few people go to that school. We'd never been successful really in anything. But I say all that because there's just not a lot of opportunities for other sports, right? So growing up in Buddy League, really all we had was basketball. Like
Right.
we didn't have like there was nowhere unless my parents were going to drive me to Huntington. There was nowhere for me to play on a football team. Like I remember, I think I was in third grade and I tried to play at Enslow, but they only had a few roster spots for people not in that district, and I didn't fill one of them. And then finally, I was going to play on a team in Milton, but I was pretty fat. And
So I was pretty. I'm so was I.
no, I was too big. The weight limit was too high. Okay, first time I was ever actually going to play football. I loved football, grew up diehard WVU fan and all of that, and like loved football. So I was going to play middle school at Hannon. We didn't have enough for a team, so I didn't play football till I was in ninth grade. That was the first time I'd actually played football. And because I was bigger, big feet, I'd grown. I was taller than. I was a really good offensive lineman, just kind of naturally, and I think playing basketball helped. But I was always shorter growing up, so I was kind of a point guard. Saying all that, I didn't really get to play a lot of other sports because we didn't have the opportunity, but we did have basketball. And I think anybody that falls in love with something, it's because as a kid, like we have some success and it gives us confidence in ourselves that maybe we can be something more than what we know, right? And when I stepped on a basketball court, I had a really bad speech impediment. Like no one could really understand how I talked, like even up until like second grade. Like, no one could really understand me. But man, I got on a basketball court in first grade and it was just like, it didn't matter,
Right.
and I'd never had a feeling like that, never had a feeling like it since. I just loved it and I was good at it. I wasn't a great athlete. I wasn't, but I loved basketball and I understood it. And I thought I understood it better than most people, even as a young kid. Oh yeah, I mean, basketball was it was my passion. It's my love. It's what I'm the most confident in. But it's brings out a very edgy side of me that
Yeah, for sure.
doesn't really exist anywhere other than on
Right.
that court.
And yeah, before I pass it back to Josh, I mean, I'm not at ki your story sounds similar to mine. Obviously, there's complete differences, but, like,
Yeah,
that's why I grew up. I played basketball, football, baseball, and I went into football and basketball, and all throughout high school. I mean, I played both, and then my senior year, they wanted to move me from playing the H-back position, the tight end position, and put me at center. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to go play college basketball. That ain't gonna
yeah,
help. I'm down 20 pounds. I was like 210. They wanted me to get back up to 250. I said, "That's just gonna ruin everything." I think opportunity is a big thing that you spoke on though there. I really liked how you said, "Man, I didn't really have much, outside of football and basketball, but basketball was the biggest opportunity." And I know like
yeah,
the confidence thing that you said about whenever you find something that you're good at, it like gives you hope that, hey, like maybe I could do this. I had a rational confidence as a 6 foot white boy in college playing at the D2 level. I was still going to the NBA. And that was
yeah,
probably stupid at the time thinking about it. But that made me and my psychopathic mind work every single day to try to make that dream happen. And if I didn't make it, which I didn't make it, I could at least live with the fact that, hey, I gave everything I had to it. So I live with no regrets for my game. So Josh, I'll let you go over and take on, man. Sorry for all the yapping.
No, but I got to hit one thing because something happened to me as a kid that I don't know that every generation is blessed to have. I had Michael Jordan, right? And the thing about it is, and that's why he'll always be my GOAT, because just his competitive spirit was just so amazing, man. But the greatest thing that ever happened to me, I think, as a player, and I think it's why I ended up trying to be a coach, right? Was Michael Jordan. And I remember watching him hit the shot over Craig Elo, right? We didn't have cable or satellite at my house, but my grandma did. And she had WGN, and I love Michael Jordan. So they would just record games. So I got the Michael Jordan one on VHS, and I can just watch it over and over and over, right? And so we had an old dirt court out at my house, right? We
God,
didn't
I
have
love
but
it.
the dirt court. My grandpa would come and dump more dirt on it every like 4 months because I just play on it so much. My rim would go from 10 foot to like 10 and a half because I pound that dirt down.
Yeah.
Oh, the grass was like the 3 point line, and so it was awesome. But I'd go out there and I'd try to do that shot. I was just physically incapable, right?
Right,
Right?
right.
Like I was like, "Oh, I can't hang in the air." But it was so good because it taught me humility at such a young age that like I can't do everything that that person can. And for me, I'm not saying that's how everybody. Some people are athletic enough to where guess what? They can jump in the air and do the switch. They can hang in the air and double clutch. Just physically like my fat butt up, down. That's it. There ain't
Put a
no
piece of paper
clutch.
underneath your feet.
Yeah. But that honestly taught me humility at a very young age. And wow. Like I think humility is one of the greatest things we can possibly possess.
Sir.
And then to see Jordan go through the tough times and leave the game and come back. And I was just blessed with a really cool generation to grow up with sports.
The
For
90s were
sure.
different. Always definitely some
Yeah.
sort of perseverance when you look at Jordan's story. Josh?
Yeah, I got like probably like a 10, 11 years old. My mom, I was raised by a single mom. She got me like the Jordan greatest hits DVD set. So like I would watch those games, but I wanna go back to, like, the confidence thing because me and Drew have had this conversation before, how, like, Drew said, like, "Man, I always thought, like, I was great," you know, and I'll tell Drew this before, like, I always kinda was the opposite, like, my motivation was like, "Man, I know that there's players a lot better than me, and what's driving me is, like, fear of failure." Even though failure is a great learning thing, like, what drove me every day was like, "Man, I don't wanna lose to this guy, or I don't want this guy to be better than me," but I didn't think I was better than them, like, I tell
Mhm.
Drew this all the time. I never probably said once in my career, including now, like, "Man, I was a great player." I just didn't think that. I never thought that. Maybe it was because I didn't have a consistent, whether it was like a father or whether it was a coach, a stable coach. I never thought like, "Man, I'm super confident." I was more like, "I can't lose this. Like, I can't get exposed to
Mhm.
this guy." Like, that's what drove me almost to the point of like the unconfident, like the no confidence gave me confidence in the long run. It was just a
Yeah.
weird thing.
It just worked out for you.
Well, I'm a different cat, and that's why some players hate my guts. I mean, that's why some guys love me, I guess. I don't think you can just have confidence. I just don't. Because you can, but the problem is if you just have irrational confidence, at some point in time, you're going to get humbled. What happens when you get humbled? I believe all true confidence is built on toughness, meaning I have to go through something, eat it, learn from it, and come back better. That is confidence, in my opinion. The ones that have great confidence have that, understand it, and then can see someone going through it and help them attain what they have. That, in my opinion, is what confidence is. Not, I'm better than you, I'm da 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 da. No, I'm tougher than you.
Tougher than you.
I think that is what real confidence is. And we live in a society that says you shouldn't do that. That if you push people for that, like we're in the middle right now, and this is real life. We're in the middle of a mental health epidemic. And I've talked to counselors and therapists, and
Mhm.
some people are like, yeah, I mean, I think sports are part of the problem. And then some people say, well, no, I think sports are one of the only things we can do it because we're in a mental health crisis because we lack mental toughness, because kids don't know how to fail and grow from it.
Right.
And, that like that's the most important thing. Our players hate me for it most of the time, but I have a duty to our players, especially college basketball, where they're about to be men, that if I'm not helping them develop mental toughness, how can they lead anyone? How? How are they going to handle adversity? Because it's going to happen.
It is.
And if we are not developing mental toughness, then we are doing our players and anyone we are associated with a great disservice.
Amen.
Now, you better check yourself. And I have to check myself on a daily basis because you can get obsessed with that. And then you can get a little bit of a God complex and push it way too far. And I have been guilty of that so many times.
Amen.
Right. So if you're going to do that, you better be able to check yourself. And you can't sit there and be like, well, no, I'm just trying to do no, you got to understand every person's a little bit different.
Yeah.
How you build toughness with every individual has to be unique to that person. And if you don't do that, well, then you're a hypocrite. And I've probably been a hypocrite before in that unknowingly, but you got to do what you preach too. If you fail, great. How do you get better as a coach? And it's no different as a player, right? You're finding these challenges that you can push yourself to be better. And it's all so much here. That's where I think real confidence comes from. I knew I wasn't as talented as people. We talked about Pitchnoggle, right? Well, I played him in an AAU thing, and he didn't want to be there, right? But I was a kid from Han. I scored like 42 that game.
He was hype.
But like my thing was like, okay, I know he wasn't trying that hard, but that's okay. I knew from the jump I had to play harder than him.
Yep.
Like I just knew it, right? Because I knew every gym I had ever gone to, every pickup session I had ever gone to, I'm gonna have to just play harder than whoever I'm playing against because I don't really have a ton of talent. Right.
Yeah.
Kobe talked about that. He tried to block out his talent, and he tried to realize that fear doesn't exist unless we allow it to.
That's facts. That is such facts. I love that quote
Yeah.
from Kobe.
But that's mental and emotional toughness.
It's where it all stems from, Josh. I mean, when you like before I give it back to you real quick though, Josh, like I love that quote that you really just had about failure is going to happen. And all winner really is people that just fail repeatedly, that just kept trying one more time. And because in life, you're gonna get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8. So
Yeah.
I love that, coach. I mean, that's a mantra, not outside of just sports, but with just all of life. That's how
Yeah.
you should live your
So it's Sunday morning, right? So every Sunday morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to map out what I want our week's especially when we're not playing games right now, right? I'm mapping out what I want our week to be. Today, we've been working Bob's Fest, all that stuff. So today is more of a teach day, okay? And I want to see if our leaders can do that. Tomorrow's a toughness day. Tomorrow, I am setting up our practice plan to create failure. They don't have a choice. I'm going to make it in a way that they will fail. And I'm
I love
going to attack them while they're doing it. And it's going to force them to work together. But like, they don't have a choice. It's coming. Like, whatever you think is good enough, I'm going to take it above that so you can't succeed.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesday, I want to see them compete. So then I can sit back and find out
end of day. Yeah.
what are they teaching me that I may think we're good at, but I failed in and we are not good at. So that, it's like Monday and Tuesday is just so much failure. Like the opportunity for failure is just all over the practice.
Yeah.
How do you get better with, I don't know how you get better without that. Like you're talking about, right? You cut hair, you got 3 podcasts, da, 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 da. Okay. Life would be easier if you just did one thing,
Right.
but that's not how we grow. That's not how
Not
we
my
get
yeah.
better.
Nope.
But I don't think that's how we're raising people right now. That's, for young men, 18, 19 to step into a program and that be thrown on them.
Yeah.
For sure,
Yeah,
Josh.
I like how you guys were talking about the transparency. With my friends and family, I always tell them there's no tough conversation with me. Like I would rather be genuine and transparent with every single thing. So that's like our standard. Like if I'm going to talk to my friend or my mom or my family, there's nothing that I feel like is uncomfortable to talk about. Now
Right.
you have to get to that point, like in professional settings. I think that's what takes like a team to the next level. Can we talk about something without our guy getting offensive? Or like, because we're all on the same page here, and especially like with a day and age like this, people take things offensive, criticism. Like those are all things that you have to understand as a young kid that is for the betterment of you and your success, which I think
But
kids don't
what you're
take.
talking about is humility.
Yes. It all goes back
Like
to that.
humility is one of my favorite stories in the Bible and it's not is Job. like like if humility wasn't so important, then you go back and you look at the history of everything. Everybody, every society, everyone gets humbled. The minute you get high, you are getting humbled.
Yep.
If you don't want to have faith and believe in the Bible, that's fine. Just study history. It's constant. Humility is going to happen. You can either heap that on yourself and put yourself in position to have it, or it's going to get put on you. You don't really have a choice in it. It's coming.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why in recruiting, humility is one of the most important things we can possibly find in a young man.
Of course.
we got to touch on the team this year and before. I wanted to ask first though, what was it like at Huntington Prep? Miles Bridges, Thomas Bryant, what were those 2 guys like specifically? Like Miles Bridges has become one of my favorite guys just because he's made himself where he can fit on the court on any team. He can hit threes consistently
At
now. He
any
can guard
position too.
anybody. He's available for any team. What was it like with those 2 guys specifically at that age?
So, boy, I mean, like I'm not trying to like say humility, da, 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 da. But it's just so important because being at Huntington Prep, you see all these guys that are so talented, and they have these grown men around them, fanboying them, telling them how great they are, and not trying to prepare them for what life's about to throw at them, which is
Mhm.
so sad. And I do love that at Huntington Prep, we didn't do a lot of that. Rob Fulford was not about that life, right? Arkell Bruce was not about that life. So like I love that. But Miles Bridges came in, no one really knew who Miles was. Like
Which is crazy.
Miles came in because a guy that had played for them before I got there had said, "Hey, like there's this kid, I'm telling you, like he needs to be here, but like he got a chance to be pretty good. We played Miles Bridges as a small ball 4-5. Like we thought Miles Bridges was going to be like, best case scenario is like a poor man's Draymond maybe at first, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? He was cool. He didn't complain. He was fine. Didn't bother him one bit, right? And he wasn't super skilled, didn't really know how to play, but my gosh, the motor, the intensity, the toughness, but he had humility. He was just coming in. But then literally that next summer, sophomore year going into junior year, he knew he wanted to get better.
Right.
And when I say insane jump and just skill, like he couldn't shoot. Like you didn't have to guard him. In 3 months, if you didn't have a hand up, it was a bucket.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit ambidextrous.
I
Like,
would say he's better dribbling with his right hand. Like he gets to the rim
like
better.
his right hook was better than his left hook, which again, I think I don't think we teach post work enough to everybody at a young age, because that's where you can really find out some skills that you're going to need to have. But like his right hook was probably better than his left hook. So he was a little bit ambidextrous. He had the motor. He just had the mindset that he was going to work. Like he just felt
And
all these guys were better than him. So he just had to work. 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 And then he chose a program like Michigan State, which was like so smart for Miles, right? Didn't leave when he could have left, but he probably needed another year of maturing, But listen, he's had some, he's been in media but like at Miles Bridges' core, he is a great, great human being.
We all fall short of the glory of God sometimes.
Buddy, listen, I'll be honest, like coaching someone like Miles is just so rewarding. Like it is. And Thomas Bryant, like again, I hit with the humility thing because TB was good. He was good. And then he knew he was good. But then the rankings hit, right? And he drops down to like 33, 34, and then
Which
some
is
of the
crazy.
some
That
of
was
the
crazy.
some of the big schools aren't really recruiting him. And that was hard for him. But during his senior year, you could see him flip. You could see him flip the switch. And when he flipped the switch, he went to a whole new level. Then, Kentucky came in and offered, which, at that time, that was the that was the standard. Like that's the standard. Like if I get an offer from Kentucky, I'm one of those dudes, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't think he was going to be a McDonald's All-American. The joy he had when he made McDonald's All-American, it was like a kid. And he didn't want it for social media. He wanted it.
Yeah.
He wanted it for himself. He wanted it for TB. TB's not this freak athlete. I think that a bunch of people think he is. He's not. He's about all the right stuff, man. Great human being, phenomenal teammate, funny guy. He's over himself. He ain't trying to be a cool boy. He's over himself, right? And it's why he's going to continue to have success. Like he'll be in the NBA as long as he wants to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not because he's going to always give them 25 minutes. It's because they know what they will get from Thomas Bryant every single day.
Professional.
Right?
For sure.
He can set for 2 minutes, or he can set for 2 games versus the New York Knicks, come in the biggest moment and maybe hit the biggest shot of the series because he works like that every day because he's over himself.
And like Drew said, that's a professional.
Yeah. And that doesn't, like, we didn't do that.
That's
right?
him.
He's raised the right way, right? Like he's just got all the right stuff in him, and yeah, man, just such a, and those guys are that way and they're in the NBA, but there's just so many other guys I could tell you that have, certain guys are in the Euro League, certain guys are playing overseas at this spot. Certain guys may never play overseas, but Danny Vitiello was a kid that played for me at Taze Valley, right? He's taking all of that stuff and he runs 3 restaurants in Puerto Rico right now, and he's thriving,
Yeah.
So, but he's made of all the right stuff,
Right.
So, yeah, like Huntington Prep, Taze Valley, where I'm at now, the talent level can go up or down, fluctuate, but people are still what it's really all about.
Yeah.
Are they the right stuff? Are they winning people?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's still the main thing.
Well, we got to touch on your team now. So preseason #1 in the conference this year. What are you seeing out of your guys so far? What do you think's different about this team than past teams?
This is the for me. Now, some coaches may come in and be, "Ooh, I don't know, like that's a practice a little edgy." But for me, it's the best culture I've been a part of since I've been at the University of Rio Grande. It just is. It's we've got return, and the reason why we're preseason #1, and the reason why I say that is because we have 3 all conference guys that all probably could have left who chose to come back. We have 5 other guys who probably didn't like their role last year, but they didn't leave. They're back. And our message from the end of last year to now was don't buy into our culture, own it. You know it. If you're coming back, that tells me you're bought in. Great. Don't buy in. You own it. Like you've got stake in this, right? It's not my culture, it's ours. You guys need to own it, not buy into it. And our returners have completely owned our culture. And they set, I set the standard because I'm the head coach, right? I don't run from that. That's my responsibility. That's my duty, right? But my job is so much easier when I have a group of young men who will uphold that standard every day. And so then I just get to teach or observe. And so that's why this has been such a rewarding, and it's our returners. And it starts with Trey Robertson, Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Fox. Like those 3 guys, all conference guys, and every one of them had a bad taste in their mouth and just got better and tougher in the offseason. And I could say that about every other player who maybe didn't get as much playing time, but have came back even better in whatever role they're going to have. And then we've got really fortunate that we got two transfers, one JUCO, one D2 that we had recruited for 2 years that we absolutely love these guys. They are perfect fits for our culture. And we've got a 3 freshmen that are just, we got lucky. They're dogs, right? They're freshmen, right? They play like freshmen sometimes fundamentally, but they don't play like freshmen emotionally and mentally. They're dogs. So love this team. Goes back to a little bit of what we talked about. Like I know this team can be very, very special. We're not there right now. So I've got to practice some patience, which I really, really struggle in. And if I believe what I just told you guys, that I've got leaders that are owning this program, then I got to let them try to do that, even if they're making some mistakes, and trust them a little bit and us grow together as opposed to trying to be perfect. A big saying we have in our program is perfect imperfection, right? It's impossible to be perfect, but why wouldn't we try to be? Because what we can achieve by trying to be perfect will make us so much better than what we could under. So you're never going to be perfect, but how can you have the perfect imperfection? That's all we're chasing. And we got a group that's really, really about that stuff. So it's been great. It's gives you a lot of the vibes of some really great teams I've coached as far as the talent, the toughness, the buy-in. We haven't played anybody, so we got to see how we handle some real adversity. Like what happens when the scoreboard doesn't say what we want it to? What happens when a bunch of people are in the stands, or what happens when our stats don't? So I say all this now, but we're going to have to see how we handle that adversity when it hits to see what we really are made of.
For sure. I look at coaches' resumes in different seasons. You might have some great coaches of all time. They'll say, "Man, this is one of the best coaches of all time." They might have some seasons where they didn't have a good record, or they might not even have a great all-time record. What do you think determines the success in an era like today, where it's like, "What have you done for me lately?" Is it the best records, or is it a mixture of both? How do you determine success for coaches?
See, I think it's got to be a mixture of both.
Yeah.
And I've had coaches that I respect a lot, and there's coaches that have a worse win-loss record than me that are probably better coaches than me. But now, I mean, look, like I'm about. I tell our guys, winning's not the scoreboard. The scoreboard will take care of itself. But now, there's a reason we keep score. Winning
Hmm.
and losing, it matters. It just
Exactly.
does. And you can't, if you don't want to do that, that's okay. But these jobs are hard to get, man. Like, I think a lot of people are like, no, like people don't understand being a college head coach is really, really difficult. But you look at so many of the NBA guys that are so talented and they come to college and they can't last. right? So
Yeah.
being at any level is so difficult. And yeah, man, winning matters. So I think it's got to be both. You can't just care about winning or losing. So are you winning games and are you impacting people? I think those are the best coaches.
Sure.
Maybe not coaches who have the best win-loss record or are, winning championships. I don't think if a coach doesn't ever win a national championship, he didn't make an impact. But now, it matters.
It does.
It does matter
For sure.
because this is we can't run from competition. Competition brings out the best and the worst of us. But now, this is we don't have modern day gladiators. Athletics is our modern day gladiators,
Right.
and the best thing that happened to me as a young coach, and he's controversial now, but I was working a Nike clinic, and Bob Knight was about to speak. And I was the guy who had to go back and tell Bob Knight, like, hey, you got 15 minutes, And so, I'm pumped. I'm like, I gotta go tell Bob Knight 15 minutes. Like, maybe I can just hang around. Maybe he'll talk to me.
Yeah.
So
That is true. That is true.
like, hey, coach, 15 minutes and they're ready for you. He's like, thanks. And I was like, you need anything? Da, 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 da. And then we just kind of start talking a little bit. And he asked me, he was like, so you want to be a coach? Da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, if you could give me any advice, what's the best advice? And I'm thinking like Bob Knight's about to tell me like something he did.
Secret information.
He said, well, if you're going to be a coach, you need to understand you have the greatest power in your hand is you have the ability to set young men up to be tougher than everyone else in the world when they get done. No one has the ability to go through what a college basketball team does. And he was like, football teams, there's too many guys. You've only got 14 or 15 guys. Everybody's part matters. Like the toughness they're going to get will set them up for life to be better than everyone else because not everybody gets to go through that.
Yep.
And that's just always kind of stuck with me, man. Like, yeah, like you've got an opportunity. Like,
Got to be tough.
So it goes back to the competition thing. Is we talk about confidence and but like, can you imagine if we do win championships and guys have went through hard times and gotten tough? You can't buy that type of confidence, man.
No.
Exactly.
You can't inherit that. It doesn't matter how much money you make. That's authentic. That's
Exactly.
real. And that type of confidence is how people change things. That's how the world grows, right? And I think competition is the only way you can get that type of you got to have the risk of losing it all and not to have that type of confidence.
It makes the process
kids these days
worth
talk
it.
about swagger. You can have all the swag you want, but if you don't have all the stuff behind it, like I'm getting old, man. I'm not big into rap, but like J. Cole's kind of like the last one that I can kind of listen to of these newer.
Lyrical genius, baby.
But like the J. Cole, what is it? The 1985, that like literally like everything he says, hey, all that stuff, you're hip on right now. You're talking to kids, right?
Yeah.
You're impressing 16 or 17-year-olds, and then they're going to grow up.
Exactly.
Right. And then they're going to forget about what made you blow up. Right. That's life. Right. Like scoring points will eventually, like it makes you feel good now, but it's eventually going to go like losing, failing, overcoming, and having that confidence of like, I think that's the most powerful thing a coach can give to a player because then that person can go out in the world and do anything, literally anything.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everyone listening to another episode of EPEN to the UKV preseason #1 River States Conference. Head coach Ryan Arrowood, Rio Grande University coach. We appreciate you, man. I look forward to your journey this year. We'll be keeping up, man.
And you guys keep doing what you're doing, man. It is so important. It's so important.